Hey everybody, and thanks for watching Woodcrest Bonsai. Today, I'm going to work on these Parrot's Beak in ice cream containers. And I've been pinching these guys by hand, so if we come in here, you'll see we've got like growth like this. And I've just been pinching out all the new growth. But they're ready for another cutback. And I'm also going to begin to separate them into ones that I want to put into bonsai pots in the spring, and others that I'm going to allow to develop a little further. And I may take some of the trees that I want to develop further and plan on putting them into even bigger pots to let them get larger and end up being larger trees. As you can see, they're all very similar. And there goes the medevac helicopter. Never like to see that guy. That means he's going to some kind of accident scene where somebody is really, really hurt. The hospital, my local hospital, is only about half a mile from here. And they take off from the roof. Anyway. Okay, where were we? Okay. So they're all about the same size. Some are smaller. And then some, well, you'll see. And I may do part 1 and part 2 because I think I've got 30. And that may take some time. I'm also going to begin to look at the structure and possibly even do a little minor wiring. Not a tremendous amount, but just some wiring. And, you know, I've already looked at a couple of plants and I can see that I want to do some wiring. And as you can see, they're all in rows. They're in 5 rows of 6. So I'm just going to start. I'm just going to start with this one, and then this one, and then and this one also has a blowout, so the pot didn't last. So I got new pots that I can replace that with, and the plant doesn't care. So I'm not going to try to cherry pick them. I'm just going to go down the line and then separate the ones that I want to turn into bonsai pots versus the ones that I'm going to allow to develop a little further. So I'm going to go over to the bench and we'll get started. So here's tree number 1. And I really love the movement on this tree. It's got just really nice movement. And it doesn't really need that much trimming at all. Maybe this back branch can be shortened a little tiny bit. But really, that's about it. Maybe some other stuff in the back here. We do have some branches that are going against the grain, so you don't really want those. But this is going to be a candidate for a bonsai pot, no doubt about it. And I want to do just a little bit of wiring on the 2 main branches. Bring this guy down like that. And you notice how we have nice horizontal, but then these both shoot up. So I'm going to bring the whole thing down like that. So it'll have that downward growth and then a little more upward, which will give that branch some more visual interest too. So I should be able to do both of them with the same piece of wire, and this piece of wire is way too long. But since I saved my wire, it'll just be sticking out at the end. Now, if you are showing a tree in a display, having wire on the tree is perfectly acceptable if it's done artistically. So you would never be allowed to have the wire stick out like this if you were going to show a tree with wire on it. But that's okay. I know I'm showing it to you, but okay, so then bring him down like that and bring this one down. into here. And I'm also going to bring it forward a little bit. There, that looks pretty good. So yeah, I'm really gonna enjoy this tree. It's just got really nice. It's got everything I want in a pre-bonsai. Decent branching, nice movement, decent taper, a nice form, and it'll just, once it fills in and we get the pads going, I think it'll be really nice tree. So there's number one. This next tree is the one where the pot has blown out. So I brought it back up a little bit, but if it was more like that. So now I have a replacement pot. So we are going from vanilla bean to chocolate. But this is just pop it out of the old one, which is probably more like pull the old one off. Oh, and look at the roots on that. Just beautiful. Really well rooted. And then we're just going to pop it right back into the new pot. So I make a huge distinction between repotting, which is what I just did with this guy, and root pruning. So if I were going to root prune, I would come in here and I would cut probably about half the roots. But we're in the middle of November, and even though I'm in zone 10, there is a dormant period, and I never like to root prune heavily in the fall, because I've done that with tropical trees and they've died. So what's that song? Once burnt, twice shy. So now if we look at the plant, actually I think I'm temporarily just going to pull it out of the pot so we can see. It's got really nice roots, nice nabari. But the tree itself doesn't have... Oh, come on. God. My producer's so mad at me. Oh wait, I don't have a producer. Maybe that's why. Okay, stop messing around with the camera. So this is a tree that's not going to go into a bonsai pot. This one may even go into a bigger pot. It's got some decent movement in here if we look up in here, but it's nowhere near as nice as the first one. Have a little bit of scarring there, which scarring can actually add to the ambiance of the tree. So for now, I'm just going to take a little bit off the top. It doesn't really seem to be a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done to lower branches. Probably have a decision to make whether I want this to be the first main branch, which means it's going to be a much smaller tree. So that's probably more of a sacrifice branch versus this guy. Or this one here, which is coming out of the outside of the curve, which is, I really like to have my branches placed on the outside of a curve, which means it'll be much bigger. The rule of thirds. This is about 3 inches, so the tree will be 9 inches high. This is more like 4 or 5, so then this will be 12, 15 inches high. So we're going to put it back in its brand new pot, and we're going to keep this guy for just further development. All right. So tree number 3 is a little odd. It almost looks like a windswept. Everything's all going this way. No growth on this side at all, which is a little odd. But typically what happens is you'll cut back a tree and then it's going to respond with a certain amount of growth. So, who knows? This tree also is a candidate for growing on further, and I may even let this guy get much bigger, which means put it into a larger pot or even into the ground and really let it take off. Perhaps end up with the trunk, 2, 3, maybe even 4 times this size with a much larger tree. So now it's just a simple matter of taking the growth that did occur, even though it's all on one side, and reducing it. And that's about it for this guy. So he's another one that's going to continue to grow. And this one is definitely ready for a bigger pot and let it get to be a much more substantial tree. I feel like I'm at the barber shop. Next. So this tree is interesting. It has, I think I'm going to bring the mountain to Muhammad instead of the other way around. It has decent nabari too. And this is not necessarily the front, but I think, timber! It certainly feels like the front. There's a big scar in the back. And Parrot Beak tend to sucker from the base, so that's why that scar is there, because I had to cut off a sucker. So it's got decent movement. It's a little more angular. This branch here is coming straight across the grain, so we want to get rid of that. And then there's a tremendous amount of new growth. You see how the older trunk is all kind of white, and then this is real green with like little sprinkles. Okay, see how green that is? So that's all brand new growth, and it was cut back to here. And so I'm not sure if I want that to be the apex. I think the apex belongs in here. So I may really whack this guy back even further. Boom. There we go. Just didn't like the way that was moving. So now he's much smaller. So this is another one that's going to grow on. This guy here is a perfect example of Melina's tendency to sucker from the base. So we have 2 points of growth that are suckering straight from the base, and you just don't want that. And you really want to take that stuff off as quickly as you can. As far as the tree, it's got decent movement. The trunk is a little straight, and it's got some crazy growth, like this part here that's growing right against the grain. I always like to have all my foliage pointing out, so it comes off. I think I need to sharpen my clippers. Then we have this growth here that could be wired into there, but for now I'm just going to clip it off. Clip that guy off, clip this other really long, and then, I mean, this is the back branch here, so we got to assume this is the front. And this could be the new apex. Cut it to there, and then cut all the rest of this here. And you know, the front of the tree, as far as the pot is concerned, is right here. But I think if we spun it just a little tiny bit, we could get a better look. Leave this guy on as a sacrifice branch. And this is another one that's not really ready for a bonsai pot. Want it to thicken more so that the angularity softens some. You know, there's a certain amount of manipulation this tree could also go through. But since we're just going to grow it on right now, this is all I'm going to do with it. This is a pretty nice tree. Has nice movement. Has a branch poking right out at us. And then if we bring this could possibly be the front too. Then this branch is poking out at us. So I don't think I'm ready to pick a front. This could be the first main branch, even though it's actually coming right out at us. It's then moving over. So there's nothing that says that you can't create your branches. You know, because visually, once the pad is all in here, you'll never really notice that the branch itself is coming from the front of the tree. But this could make a nice front too. and then we would remove this. And so I'm going to reduce it just so we can see the trunk line. And as is the case with Melina, a lot of viney growth on top. And like I said, I've been pinching, so here you can see where I've pinched and pinched, but all this other stuff I have not yet gotten to. So about into there. And this tree is probably pretty close to number one tree that I was going to put in a bonsai pot. So I could very easily talk myself into putting this guy into a bonsai pot too. So he will go into the potential bonsai pot. Because I like, it's got everything I like in my bonsai. Nice movement, fairly decent taper for a parrot's beak, and nice branching, and a decent size for a shohin. So I think that would make a nice tree in a bonsai pot. And the last one that I'm going to work on, at least in this video, so that was only the first run of 6, is this guy here. This is another tree that I think should be much taller and much larger. Just overall, thicker trunk. You know, if this is the rule of thirds, this is easily 5-6 inches. So the tree should be about 15 to 18 inches, and right now it's only about half. So we've got here, and we got here. This tree is probably 12 inches. So I think it could really grow and develop into a larger tree, which would really be best for it. And looking at this tree here, I think we could also do a little tiny bit of wiring. See how that just changes everything? The reason we bring branches down like that, because it makes the tree look so much older. So I'm going to get some wire. And I've actually run out of old wire, so I'm going to use brand new wire in a brand new roll. And when you're measuring wire, you want to, I'm going to do both at the same time. So you want to take your wire, and the wire should be about 1.5 times the length of the branches. So we've got the wire like this, which is about the length of a pair of scissors. So a little bit more somewhere. So let's do it like, well, no, still not, doesn't make much difference. So about like that. So and then take it about half. I'm going to start here, but I'm going to go up to this branch first. And we have a chippy bird in the background. You hear? Chip, chip. I had a girlfriend, and that's what she called them, chippy birds. Okay, well, and now she's got me doing it, even though I haven't seen her in years. And then this guy, same way. And look at that, I cut it perfectly. That's what happens when you don't use used wire. And you actually cut it for the branch you're actually wiring. You don't get any leftovers. And then we're going to bring him down. And then swoop the tips up, because we want the tips pointing up. Oh yeah, okay. And our back branch is pretty dense, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a haircut. And really, there's just not that much else to do on this tree, other than in the spring. And I could even do it now, because I do not root prune in the spring. I know I've been watching Nigel Saunders work on ficus in, I said in the spring, I meant in the fall. And, really severely root pruning them. But he's got a hothouse with grow lights that are timed, to fake the trees out into thinking that it's spring. I don't really do that because I don't really need it, because living in zone 10 in the US, I have such a long growing season anyway. But this could conceivably be now just repotted. Take it out of this pot, and I'm not going to do that because the pot would just fall apart. And just put it into a bigger pot. Maybe feather the roots a little bit and then let it grow. So once again, at least 6 inches. So we're talking about an 18-inch high tree. And then once the pads fill out and these are all nice full, and we've got the movement that I like, I think this would make another really nice larger tree. So there you go, 6, the first 6 Parrot's Beak. And so what did we get? We got 2 that I'm going to turn into Shohin, or Shohin. And then the other 4 I'm going to grow out. And of those 4, 3 of them I think I'm going to put into larger pots. So whenever you're growing a lot of trees, growing a lot of trees gives me the opportunity to do this, to choose. Okay, I want this one to be bigger. I want to make this a Shohin. There's nothing that says I couldn't take my cutters and go right to here and make a little tiny mame. My philosophy is, if you cut it like this, most of the people would say, "What were you doing? It was so beautiful." My philosophy is, if I did that, it's not a mistake. It just increases the amount of time before it's a finished tree, because we'd get growth, and we could start to do some branches, and we'd end up with a little tiny tree with a massive trunk. But of course, I'm not going to do that, because I really like the styling of this guy. Typically, when I do a massive chop like that, it's on material that I've been growing specifically to get big trunks, knowing that I'm going to do that chop. I rarely style a tree with the movement and the gracefulness of a tree like this and then chop it back. That just makes no sense. A possibility, but not in the works. So thank you so much for watching. Please, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment if you'd like, and subscribe and hit the notification bell, and you can watch all these guys begin to develop further. I will probably do the root pruning and the repotting of the 2 that I'm going to put into bonsai pots in the spring. And spring is only about 2 months away. I mean, it's already the middle of November, and I call spring where I live the middle of February, because you rarely get any kind of freezing temperatures after the middle of February. So only got a few more months. And then if I do choose to put these guys into bigger pots now, I will make a video of that too. So thank you so much for watching, and I'm coming up on 400 subscribers. I want to try to get to 400 by Thanksgiving, and I think I've only got 4 more to go. So thank you everyone who has subscribed. I truly appreciate your support. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.